That's one of the biggest problems I see is a lot of businesses and clients will say like, oh, well, social media doesn't work for me or social media won't work for my business. And it's because they've gone in without a strategy. A lot of times people will say, okay, well, I've been on Facebook and nothing happened. Well, was your messaging correct? Were you sharing the right type of content that your audience on Facebook wanted to read? There's so many different social media platforms out there, and they all exist for a reason.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 25 of the Casandra Properties podcast. We have a treat for you once again today. We are joined by Katie Brinkley, the founder and social media strategist at Next Step Social Communications, based out of Littleton, Colorado. So we're going way out across the country here to bring some value to the Casandra Properties family today. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Oftentimes the audience likes when I kind of go back and we start in the beginning and we try and learn a little bit about Katie and your business and how did we get to where we are today. And then I have a couple of other topics I'd like to jump into. So if you would be so kind, could you give us a little bit of a snapshot on the business today and how we ended up where we are? Because it's pretty neat story.
Yeah, so I am a social media strategist, and a lot of times people say, like, well, what does that even mean? And what I do is I help businesses and entrepreneurs learn how to optimize their social media so that everything works together. Their ads, their organic posts, their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their Facebook, everything is talking, and it has an overall strategy. A lot of times businesses will just be like, I know I need to be on social media, but I don't. It's just for looks or for vanity metrics. This is what I teach and try to do for my customers is how to bring in new clients, new leads, and create a community around your brand. This is something that obviously I'm been out of college for a while now. And when I first started in social media, it was all for pleasure. I was a part of I was a news director, music director, and sports director at the college radio station. And I went to a smaller school in Colorado, Fort Lewis. And this was during the MySpace days. So I don't know if you guys all remember the top 8, but I was all in on MySpace because Facebook back in the day used to have a college URL or email address in order to be on Facebook. And even though I was at a Division II school, Facebook did not recognize my little Division II school as a accredited university. So I was all in on MySpace.
So a lot of people, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of folks won't even know what that's about. Can you talk a little bit about that in the kind of the origins of Facebook, needing the college account to get in, and just if you'd spend a minute or two on that, I think the audience would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, Facebook was basically a giant yearbook for people that were at colleges, and it was a way for them to connect with other people. A lot of times I get bigger schools where, I think about like the University of Michigan. There's so many people at those schools, and you might not be able to really connect with all of them very easily. Like, oh, there's that person from my class. So having Facebook was a way for you to connect and meet other people in college and basically share your information with them. Well, Mark Zuckerberg, I remember it was right after I graduated, he finally decided to take Facebook off of just being for schools, like you had to have a accredited, again, university email address to be on Facebook. And he decided that anybody with any email address could be on it. And so when that happened, that's when I got onto Facebook. But again, like I said, I was more into MySpace, and that was available to anyone. MySpace, believe it or not, is still around. And it was where a lot of bands were getting recognition and were kind of taking off in the MySpace area before Facebook opened up to the rest of the world. Twitter actually also got launched mostly because Facebook, again, was only for college kids or people at schools. And so other people wanted to get on these social network thingies, and Twitter was a way, MySpace was a way. And as we've seen, social media and social networking has just completely taken off. Again, and I started, like I said, back in the MySpace days. So having a social media marketing degree wasn't even a thing when I went to school. I wanted to be the next Erin Andrews. I wanted to be a sports reporter. And so life goes in weird directions, crazy directions. And I saw the benefits of social media back in college, started with bands and helping them launch their music on MySpace. And things have kind of evolved, obviously, since there. And I've got my own company now doing social media and helping entrepreneurs with social media. Mostly my clients specialize in the home industry. So realtors, contractors, home builders, home organizers, anything that has to do with the home is kind of my jam.
So that's it's so much to pull apart there. And thank you for that introduction. It's crazy how Facebook and Twitter and all of these platforms, as we know them today, are just these massive conglomerates, right? But they were at one point, just like everything else, in beta, going through this process of seeing what works, what doesn't work. And I think it's neat. And I think it's important to remember that, especially today, we have so many tools in the toolbox to innovate. And there's so many neat new things that we can be pushing the limits on, right? I was having a discussion with one of the younger folks that work here recently, and I was talking about innovating, and we're launching a new app soon for the company that's going to do things a little bit differently. And they were like, I just feel like there's not much left to invent. I feel like everything's kind of been thought of, and that is so not the case, right? There is so much opportunity out there. In fact, one of our strategies that we're advising clients on our consulting side is, as COVID has really solidified the work from home model and the decentralization of real estate, we're advising a lot of our high net worth clients to stop trading for bricks, meaning selling one set of buildings and buying another set of buildings. We're really strongly urging them to take some of that capital and deploy it in the form of micro investments in small tech startups. The opportunity zones give you a great opportunity to do that. And grab these kids coming out of college, give them a space to work, give them high-speed internet, offer them some, mentorship and some capital, of course, and let them go. I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what social media and the tech front has available for us. So you are specializing, and you have been for 15 years now, on taking social media and not treating it as just a place that you have to be, right? When you start to get in the weeds on this stuff, it is quite remarkable how productive the platforms can become. So if you would take a few minutes to talk about a few of the platforms, maybe offer some tips to the audience about things that perhaps on the surface they weren't really aware of, and give a little bit of insight into what you mean by instead of it just being a place to have a presence, really using these amazing tools to go to work for you, for your company, a big business, small business, and everyone in between. It's just become such a critical part of the business, spectrum today, right? Social media has become so critical in everything we do. If you say a few words on how that translates and what you mean by not just kind of having a presence, but being organized and being intentional.
Oh man, see, I love social media. It's it's my jam for sure. And that's one of the biggest problems I see is a lot of businesses and clients will say like, oh, well, social media doesn't work for me, or social media won't work for my business. And it's because they've gone in without a strategy. A lot of times people will say, okay, well, I've been on Facebook and nothing happened. Well, was your messaging correct? Were you sharing the right type of content that your audience on Facebook wanted to read? There's so many different social media platforms out there, and they all exist for a reason. I mean, if they all were all the same, then why would we have, 8, 9 different social media platforms out there? Every platform offers something different to the people that are on it. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see small businesses make when they're on social media, is that I need to be on every single social media platform. And so they're on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I mean, like there's so many. And then they just copy and paste the same messaging,
Yes.
put it out, and then expect the clients and the leads just to start knocking down their door. And that is definitely something that I try to teach people. Listen to where your audience is, listen to where your audience wants, and go to where they are. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they will give you insights onto who is following you, who's engaging with you, when they're online. And from there, that's when you can kind of do like testing and see like, okay, well, on Instagram, my audience is mostly women, and between 25 and 35, and they really like seeing pictures of before and afters. But on Facebook, they really like seeing getting offers or conversation starters where I can ask a question to them on like what's one way that you decorate your family table for the holidays. Upload a picture in the comments of what your family holiday table looks like. And that's how we get the most engagement. So I mean, like, there's different ways to connect with your audience on each platform. And I think that that's one of the most important things to do, is to try to see where your audience is and go to the platforms that they're on. Don't try and be the master of all, because when you're the master of all, then you're the master of none. And go to those platforms, talk to your audience who's on there. Again, maybe Instagram is women and they're 25 to 35, but then LinkedIn is mostly men in their 40 to 50. Okay, well then what type of content would a man be interested in seeing? And you don't need to recreate the wheel for every single post. Let's say you're sharing a blog. It's just where you craft the message. You're still sharing the same piece of content, but craft it for the message that's going out onto each platform. Again, the blog could be about dinner tables, but on LinkedIn, you could share it as the top 10 dinner table organization ideas or whatever for, statistically over the last 20 years, how the holiday dinner table has changed. And then on Instagram, it can just be a beautiful picture with a really nice like microblog description. There's so many ways to find your client. Don't try and be on all the social media channels with the same copy, the same image, and just try and be on all of them. Just go to where they are and give them exactly what they're asking for.
So that's a really interesting perspective. And we talked to a lot of people here, and quite honestly, I have not heard that perspective before. We've heard the don't copy and paste the same post and duplicate it, which so many people do, right? A lot of times you'll bring in social media experts and, they're saying, okay, we're going to post to 3 different platforms, and they're literally just clicking the syndicate button, on the bottom of the post, and it's populating on multiple platforms. It's the exact same message. It's the exact same images. It's the exact same text. So what you're saying,
exact same time. Yeah.
At the exact same time. Right. So you're saying that it's okay that the core theme of your post is the same across platforms, but the messaging and the methods by which you deliver the information to that audience has to be adapted to the specific audience in the specific platform. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And
Okay.
you can look at all this in your insights. Again, it's Instagram, Facebook, that they tell you who your audience is. I mean, for one of my home organizing clients, obviously it's 93.3% women. So I know exactly what type of messages to put out there, and like feeding your kids and, trying to be a stay-at-home. So, I mean, like, all of our messages are crafted like we're talking specifically to just her. And that way people feel connected with this home organizer. They feel like they know her. They feel like she's a friend, because they always feel like she's talking directly to them, because she's putting out the exact content that her ideal customer wants to hear.
So, we get so busy, and I'm talking to the audience now, right? We all have our companies and we're all running in 100 different directions. And we're taking the time to post, and we're taking the time, or we're expending the resources to have someone post. And we're not utilizing these platforms anywhere near to the level that they should be. And I've used this analogy a lot of times, Katie, that we're so busy pedaling the bike that it's difficult to fix it and pedal it at the same time. It's pretty amazing that you have the ability to, if you slow it down enough, to jump into the platforms, and they essentially, as you said, so I knew some of this, I didn't know all of it. We have a pretty big presence out here in Staten Island, and to hear you just break it down in such a simple way, it makes sense, right? If we're going to take the time to do this, we really should be paying attention to who is it that we're speaking to. And I preach that all the time. Know your audience. When we're out there and we're pitching, know who you're speaking to. Make sure you understand what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. And I guess that's the same concept here. So does it matter from a business perspective on your side? Does it matter if you're working with a real estate company or a construction company, or you host 2 sport podcasts, 1 international sports podcast I want to talk about? Are the principles the same across the board? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it does. It really does. I think that knowing who you're talking to makes a world of difference. And again, going back to what I was saying before, you don't need to be on every single social media platform. Yeah, I mean, like if you know your audience is women, like go all in on Instagram. I'm telling you right now, if you have a predominantly female audience, go all in on Instagram and devote a ton of your time on there. Devote like 90% of your time on there, because then if you think about it, since I'm on the Instagram kick right now, on Instagram, there's 5 different ways that you can post on it. There's the grid, there's Instagram stories, there's Instagram live, there's IGTV, and now there's Reels, which is the TikTok knockoff. And I mean, if you want to be successful on social media, you are going to jump into all 5 of those different ways of posting on Instagram, not just posting to the grid. You're going to be on Instagram and all in. You're going to give people the content through Reels once a week, through Instagram lives on occasion. I mean, like, you're going to be showing up on a regular basis on all these different ways, because then again, like I said, this is where your audience is, and you're giving them the content about your business in all these different ways. And it's just going to expand your reach and, again, your audience. So once you know who your audience is, go all in on that platform.
So has this always been a passion of yours? For 15 years, you've been helping a wide berth of companies and folks, real estate agents, construction companies, home builders. And you've clearly got a very creative side and entrepreneurial side. Has this always been a part of your composition? Is this something that kind of clicked early on? Were you always into this side of things, or did this come on later on in life?
Well, I mean, like I said, I wanted to be a sideline, or actually I wanted to be a play-by-play reporter for NFL radio. And that's what I went to school for. And that's what my first job out of college was for. I was always doing social media kind of on the side. And I just kind of, I saw the power of it, and how you, like I said, I started with bands, and I was able to, connect with bands from all over the country, and, get them on my radio show. And I was like, man, this is great. MySpace is fantastic. I can connect with people that I never would have dreamed of before. So I always kind of saw the power of it. But again, I wanted to be a sports reporter. I wanted to be calling the games for NFL teams, and life obviously took me in a different direction. But that's where my co-hosting on the NFL parts of the Across the Pond Sports podcast comes in, and I get to talk sports and NFL twice a week on that show.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I think that's so neat. So you host this show, and your So I guess, but the passion for football, is it just specifically football that you had the passion for?
I guess I just like seeing people get hurt. I love football and I love hockey. So I'm a big Denver Broncos fan. It's been a kind of a rough season, and I'm a big Colorado Avalanche fan. But I've always just loved football. I think in high school I started. That's when I started my first like magazine subscription, and it wasn't until like 17 or anything. It was to the Sporting News.
Mhm.
So I get the Sporting News every week, and I read it from cover to cover. I just absolutely loved it. And in college, there was a football officiating class, which I'm sure that was just created mostly for the football players to get an easy A in. But I signed up for it, and I remember the coach kind of looked at me, and I went into the class, was like, "What is this girl doing here? Is she just looking for a boyfriend?" And I honestly was interested in,
That's
because
awesome.
I've never played football. Like, I just have always enjoyed watching it. I was curious, what the hand signals meant from the officials before they actually announced it. I wanted to know before they got on the mic what the penalty was or whatever. So I signed up for that, and like I said, I just love football. I love hockey, and podcasting has given me the chance to still do my radio jams. And like I said, I have my marketing podcast, but then obviously the NFL podcast is a passion project.
So was it like in the family? Were there, big, long Saturdays and Sundays watching football, or?
I am an only child, and my dad is, he's into football. I mean, it wasn't like Red Zone didn't exist when I was growing up. Like, we would watch the Broncos, and then my dad's from California. So whenever we could watch the 49ers play, we would watch them, but that was about it. I loved playing it though with him. We'd go outside and throw the football around all the time. And again, this was before like females in boys sports really kind of was even somewhat accepted. So I never even got the chance to try to play. I would just play with my dad all the time, and with the neighborhood kids. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, like I like I said, I still love football, and I love watching it. Like yesterday, I spent all day on the couch watching Red Zone. So
It's so funny. There's like this common theme that continues to reoccur. Whenever we're talking to entrepreneurs like yourself, there's like this thread of football woven between. Really, there's so many folks that I have spoken to over the last couple of months that are entrepreneurs like we are, that have this kind of passion somewhere woven into our DNA. There's like a little football gene in there. And it was interesting. One of the editors here for the show picked up on it, and they were like, 60 something percent of the people that you've spoken to have this passion for football. So I said, let me bring that up. There's got to be some football gene buried in our heads somewhere here. I don't know. So,
well, make sure to tell all your guests to tune in to the Across the Pond Sports podcast, because we have a lot of fun. Put out 2 episodes a week and just talk football.
absolutely. I love it. So Littleton, Colorado, is this born and raised in Littleton?
Yeah. The only time I've really left was when I went to college, and that was in Durango, which, as my mom put it, was the furthest away I could get from her without leaving the state. So it's about a 7.5-hour drive from Denver, and Littleton is just right outside of Denver. It's one of the Denver suburbs. So I can take the light rail station, and it takes like 15 minutes to get to the heart of downtown Denver. So I love it here. I've seen a lot. I've been fortunate to do a lot of traveling, and I've seen a lot, and I absolutely love calling Denver home and being able to see the mountains every day.
Yeah, a lot of your content centers around around the hometown, which is very similar for us, where we're in the shadow of New York City, of course, out here in Staten Island, but we're a very tight-knit, very close community out here in Staten Island, and we're pretty fiercely protective of our own, if you will. So I think it's neat, that kind of small town feel, even though we're a borough of New York City, we very much have a small town feel out here in Staten Island.
Yeah.
So fast forward now, where we've gone through this revolution where, small businesses and mid-sized companies felt they had to have a presence, and people have begun to embrace and to post. And then here comes COVID, and now, there's a quadrupling down on digital assets. How has COVID impacted your side of the business, if I may, because I know our side's been turned upside down by it?
Yeah, my 2020 goals definitely ended up being very different than my 2020 year end. I wanted to grow more of an agency sort of feel where I was offering more done for you social media, where people will come to me, say, hey, I know I need to be on social media, just do it for me. And that's definitely what I specialize in. But when COVID hit, I had a lot of people so again, LinkedIn is a great platform for networking, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And so I talk to a lot of different people that I've never really met in real life. And one of the common things that I've found people were talking and asking about was like, hey, now that I've been given the gift of time, being at home here under these quarantines, I realize social media is so important. I don't know how to do it. It overwhelms me, and I know that I'd love to pay you to do it, but right now, like, I feel like I have the time to learn. And so that's where my coaching business really kind of took off. And so what I kind of transitioned to in this year is offering one-on-one coaching for social media. So I teach people how to set up their Facebook page, how to read their insights, how to find out where their clients and their customers are, so that way we can go all in on those platforms. We're not just, again, posting on every platform known to mankind. You're posting where your audience is listening. So I teach them how to set everything up, how to optimize their bios for SEO, how to create content, again, where it's, again, maybe sharing one blog post, but repurposing that blog post on each social channel differently, so that if someone does follow you on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, it looks different. They're going to want to click on it each time, because it's not like, oh, I've already seen this on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I'm giving people the same piece of content different ways, so that they'll want to follow you on every single social media platform that you're on, if you are going to be on multiple channels. So again, the 2020 has completely changed on how I do my business, because I'm teaching people how to do what I do. And it's actually been so rewarding just to see that people learn how to do it and not get overwhelmed by it anymore. So it's, starting from square one, we're like, okay, well, now we're just going to open up Facebook, and I'm going to teach you everything on the back end. And then they can, when the coaching contract's over, release them. And it's like, oh yeah, well, social media, I've already got a content calendar created. I know what days to post. I know what times to post. I know when I should go into Instagram stories and how to connect all that so it just seems seamless. And that's one of the things that it's great, because they're doing stuff that even if they were to pay me to do it, they would still need to be doing some sort of video, some sort of story, getting in front of their audience in some way. And what I've done now is just taught them how to do it. And now they're able to get, better results, because they're getting their time back, because they've learned how to do it the right way. And they're seeing the success from it. So
the coaching is something I wanted to speak about specifically, because I think for my audience, it's very relevant. There's an intimidation factor that comes along with the platforms, right? So for the most part, it becomes, okay, we just have someone that's going to handle it, and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And, you're making your kind of generic posts on schedule, and there's not a whole lot of passion behind it. But I think that the coaching offers an opportunity to really dive in and understand how to connect. So, yes. Do you do this for all different levels of like, is it, if you have absolutely no idea, or if you do have a decent sense of the different platforms, do you scale it? And can you give us a sense of cost of how that would work? Does it go by company size, or again, I think this would be relevant for my audience.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one-on-one coaching, and we have so typically people I found that people sign up for the 3-month package the most because it's less overwhelming. I do have like a 1-month all-in package where we meet twice a week for 45 minutes a session. And honestly, I found that people get overwhelmed and they don't stick it out the way that the people that do the 3-month package do. So the 3-month package is 12 1-hour sessions, one-on-one via Zoom like this. And basically what you have control of the computer, and I navigate and teach you where to go. So that way it's not just me jumping around. I know exactly where to go on, the Facebook Business Manager, but my clients typically don't. They don't, a lot of them have never even heard of Facebook Business Manager. So that's just where I teach them how to set it up, how to install a pixel, how to do the DNS verification. And this is stuff that you only have to do one time, hopefully, but just teaching them on how to navigate. And then if someone's more advanced and already knows all that, this is where we work on, we can go down different paths on how to find blog topics to write, how to write a blog, how to make sure that the blog is optimized for SEO, how to develop your strategy for Instagram with reels and stories and the grid, like how to figure that out. So, I mean, depending on where you are with your ability is where I can kind of take you. And again, the 3-month session definitely seems to work the best because people get used to setting aside like every Thursday at 11, I have a coaching client, and it's an hour that she set aside every Thursday for the next 3 months. So after our time together is over, she is used to spending 1 hour a week devoted to her social media. And what I try to teach is that that's all you need to really do. You can sit down and just devote 1 hour a week to your social media, and then guess what? You're going to get your life back, and you're going to enjoy being on social media as your business because you're not worrying about, oh my gosh, what do I have to post on my, it's already been done. Now all you have to do is go in and engage as your page and be social on social media. So that's kind of what I try to kind of just get that mindset and that habit formed of the 1 hour a week to your social media, and people seem to really take off with it.
That's great. And then if these are people or principals that have a company, as opposed to if it's a 2-person shop or a 200-person shop, does it scale from a cost perspective?
Nope, it doesn't. It's all the same price for, and like I said, it's one-on-one coaching. So this is the thing that I try and teach a lot of businesses is that you are the brand. Despite you might not wanting to be the brand, really you are the brand. And you have to get used to putting your face out there, because the more that they see your face, the more your audience is going to know, like, and trust you. And the more they know, like, and trust you, the more they're going to want to give you business, either from referral or their own money. And so this is where I've a lot of it is teaching the person that is going to be in front of the camera, in front of the audience the most, that one-on-one time. That's who I need to work with. So I recently worked with 2 realtors, but it was their assistant that I was actually working with. So I was teaching her how to do their social media, because she's the one that's actually going out to the properties most of the time and doing the walkthroughs before the open house, like, yep. and showing those, hey, over here we have a brand new kitchen, and being the face of the business. So yeah, so whoever is going to be the face of your business, I typically encourage to be the one to sign up for the coaching. So
I have an interesting kind of story about this, because I struggled with it in the beginning, being terribly uncomfortable being on camera, being terribly uncomfortable. If I'm out of my subject matter, it was like, oh, I didn't want to be a part of those things. So for me, I didn't understand quite why people would want to have these glimpses into the different lives that we now share and have become common practice, right? So for me in the beginning, it was like business, 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 business. And, I joke around with my CMO, Peter, all the time now, who thankfully is brilliant and handles all of these things and has really brought us so far along as a company. I was making like really insightful, nailing it where the market's going, talking about, what asset classes we should be divesting from, which ones we should be getting into, where the interest rates were going. And, you would kind of bump along and X amount of views and some better posts and some lesser posts. And I was like, I'm really giving great value here. I don't get it. And then we brought in this guy, J-Man, Jeremiah, awesome. He's a social media guru, and he works with realtors out of New York. And he was like, "You're not connecting." And so, what do you mean I'm not connecting? So he gave me like these homework assignments, and one of the homework assignments was to go to a local park and talk about a memory that you had in a local park. So I went down and I'm sitting there with the camera begrudgingly, and I'm like, oh, this is a place, and I started to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And I landed on telling a story about where my son caught his first fish. It had, I can't even tell you, hundreds and hundreds and then thousands of people watching this thing. And that's when I got it. Like, I didn't get that if I didn't connect with them personally, it didn't matter what I had to say about business. It didn't matter how profound a prediction of a market class was. It didn't matter that I was, to the week telling you how interest rates were going to change. It didn't, none of that mattered if we didn't connect the way we're connecting right now. So
Exactly.
For a business owner, I think a question that comes up a lot and folks struggle with is, how much do you dedicate to personal and how much do you dedicate to business? Like, what's the ratio? What's the mix?
So, and this is where it is different for every business and depending on what your audience is. I always try to connect through, like, I do a lot of stuff through stories where I'll share family photos and stuff like that, because that's where I'm like, okay, this is gone in 24 hours, but I'm giving them a glimpse into my window of my life. And then I also like, so I just for my business's social media page on Fridays, that's where I consider my fun Fridays. And those are where I typically am either sharing a fun bit of about me, or I'm really into coffee. So I'll share like a fun coffee meme. And then in the body of the caption, I'm talking about like, who's on their third cup of coffee today? I know I am. Hooray, Fridays. But from there, I'm able to transition it into a story. And those are some of my best posts, because I'm giving it like a talk about my entrepreneurial journey, or one tip that the first time that I got my first office, or, something different about me. That's a story that gives people a different way to connect with me. Because I mean, I can give social media tips every day, but you're only going to care about getting those if you're a social media strategist, another social media person. I mean, they're only going to take you so far. You have to find different ways to connect with your audience on a regular basis. And like you said, going to that park, that local park where you had a memory, that's fantastic, especially as someone like in the real estate or commercial property industry, because then you're showing, look, I'm a part of this community and I've been a part of this community for a long time. My son caught his first fish over here, so that's where this is the location that is my bread and butter. When you're in this location, I want you to think of me, because I've been here and I've been a part of this community for a really long time. I've seen it evolve and change. I know what kind of business is going to do awesome in that location because I've been here for so long. So that's where kind of subconsciously you're ingraining that you're the authority in that area.
So there's no magic sauce as far as 40% personal, 60% business. It's an ebb and a flow.
It is an ebb and a flow. And I mean, like I said, I post 4 times a week for my personal business page. And the third one is always, so I guess that's 25% of the time I am posting a personal post. But on the holidays, I'm going to share stuff in my stories about the holidays and maybe share some pictures of my kids. And, so stuff like that can go into stories very easily. But one thing you do need to remember, especially on Instagram, is that it is the overall grid is what you need to envision and have in mind, because it is like your gallery. It is your best of the best for when people who are new to your business or your account, they go there and they instantly know what it is that you sell, that you offer, how you can help them, and that they want to follow you. So your grid, you need to consider your best of the best and that it all flows cohesively. Again, you can have those personal stories in there, but have them in the captions or kind of make sure that they fit in with the overall picture and style and grid.
And what are some of the absolute like no-nos? What are some of the absolute big do not do's on the social platforms? Obviously, resharing the exact same post when you're hitting that, syndication button is one of them. What are some of the other things that we really should stay away from?
I try to tell people to not be the annoying guy at the party. So don't be the guy at the party that comes in and corners you and all he does is talk about himself for the next 2 hours and then turns around and walks away and never says, hey, so tell me, what do you do? How long have you been from this area? Like, tell me more about you. It's called social media for a reason. Try to be social on it. And I see that's a really common trap that businesses fall into, is that they just go on there and sell the whole time. And I don't know about you, but that's not why I want to be on social media, is to be knowingly sold to. Obviously, there's a reason I have a job. You're on social media and you are going to get sold to, but at the same time, like, you can tell when an ad comes through versus an organic post. Show up in people's feeds and they want you there. They want to hear what you have to say and potentially buy it from you. But again, don't just go on there and just sell to someone. Provide them value and be social.
So podcasting, this platform now has become, it seems like nobody had a podcast and now it seems like everybody has a podcast. It's become a really important part of how we communicate out here. We started this podcast because we wanted to give people an opportunity to connect with folks in the network, connect with folks like yourself, where we can get the messaging out. We wanted to give people an opportunity to communicate. Where do you see the future of podcasting? How important has podcasting become for you? And do you think it is a central part of the platform that folks should be considering?
I think that podcasting is huge if you have a strategy behind it, just like with social media. You have to have some sort of consistency of, okay, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, that's when the podcast comes out. Have a consistent strategy behind your podcast, as well as it's all marketing. It's all just different ways of getting your name out there and of connecting with people that want to hear with your message. So make sure that you have a strategy behind it and you're not just going on the air just to be on the air. How are you going to give your ideal clients and customers exactly what they want to learn from you? And I think that podcasting is definitely here to stay. What are you going to do to stand out from the crowd? That's what you need to figure out. I think that you should be on. I think if podcasting is for you, then great. There's also Facebook Live or Instagram Live. That's another route that you can go down, doing live video, and having that as part of your strategy. I think that if you can put your voice or your face out there to your audience on a weekly basis, you're going to stay top of mind. And I think that, again, if you can think of what do you have to offer from all the other different people out there that's going to make you stand out, that your clients are going to want to listen to, and do business with you someday, I think absolutely podcasting is a great tool to optimize.
So business owners were pulled in so many different directions, right? There are so many different things competing for our resources at any given time. The whole platform, right? All of the sites, podcasting, the whole kind of digital suite. What percentage of someone's marketing budget would you say is a safe number that should be attributed to this kind of digital suite today?
Yeah, it really depends on how much is one client customer worth to you. Because if you can gain in one new lead, and what is your strategy from after having that person fill out your form, fill out your lead magnet, go to your page, come into your shop, how are you going to close the deal? For home builders, we get a ton of traffic from our social media ads, to sending people to the website to then do the virtual tours. How are the people that are doing the online messaging, the online chat, how are they able to then convert them into a sale, to get them into do a real walkthrough, to come down to the new community to see the house in person? How are they able to convert it? And I think that having a budget, you absolutely do need to have some sort of a budget set aside for social media. I recommend having at least $250 a month, because to repurpose a post that already did well organically. That's a great way to just kind of get started and get some of your content out from in front of more eyes. That's already done well with your organic audience. But I think that having a good budget for most of my clients to use is $1,000 per month. That way we can re-optimize a post many different ways. There's not just pushing out one post for website clicks. We have to do an engagement post to get engagement up around that post. And then we have to do the website click. And then we're going to do a retargeting campaign from those people that have already clicked on the website, so they see a different one, to maybe get them back in to go in and see that house in person. So I mean, if you have $1,000, you're going to be able to do a lot more ads, especially on Facebook. LinkedIn is a beast, and you do need to have a substantial ad budget for LinkedIn. The reason behind that, though, is because you can be so targeted with your ads. If you want to target people who have the title of CEO that work in a certain industry, so let's say they work in the builder industry, let's say that you want home builders that have the title of CEO, and so really you only want people in Denver, well, you're only going to be targeting maybe 50 people. So that's where you're targeting such a small amount, but you want that so if you're getting a cost per click of $6 or $4 per click, it's worth it because you are targeting the exact person you are talking to. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And again, LinkedIn, you can be way more targeted with who you're talking to and who you want to see, who you want to have come to your website or fill out your lead magnet. But it is more expensive. So
LinkedIn, we have found to be absolutely game changing. Where in the past in my industry, we do a lot of commercial leasing and we do a lot of commercial brokerage. And in the past, it was the process of going to the trade shows year after year, exhibiting and, establishing yourself to try and make connections so that you can climb the ladder to get to the decision makers. And now with LinkedIn, if you're using it properly, you can literally get to anybody at any level in any company.
Yes, and you said using it properly, and that's such a key thing to do, is use it properly. Don't go and try and connect with someone, and then after you connect with them, instantly try to sell with them. Right. I mean, that it drives me bonkers when I connect to someone. They're like, "Hey, so I'm doing this thing. Would you like to buy from me?" And I'm like, "I don't know who you are. Why would I want to buy from you?" So I mean, you have to. It's just like any other networking event. LinkedIn is. Don't just go into someone, connect to someone, go into their DMs and try to sell to them. Establish a relationship with them first, just like you do on any other life basis. I mean, you're still going to have to try and work up to selling to somebody.
And be genuine, right? I mean, we get the same message. I probably get 200 a day in LinkedIn. It's the same, "Hey, thanks for connecting. Would you be interested in?" And it's like, I didn't even get past the hello.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's maddening. That part is maddening.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I mean, like, and that's one thing I try to tell people too. Like, so with some of my clients, coaching clients, are the best spot for them to gain new leads is on LinkedIn. And so I teach them how to craft a number of different like messages that are true and genuine, but you're able to use on a mass scale. So like, hey, tell me a little about yourself. Or like, so for mine, hey, I see you live in Denver too. Are you a Denver native, or did you move here from somewhere else? I mean, like it's a simple conversation starter, but it works great because I mean, I'm from Denver, and if they say that they're from Denver too, or if they just moved here, I mean, like you can start the conversation that way, and it doesn't just seem quite so salesy. So
yeah. So there's a lot of neat tricks as you're shooting these videos and you're getting your strategy defined. I have to ask if you can show everyone the voice box. I thought that was so neat. So when we
yeah,
were talking, folks, before we got started, this is one of the little tips and tricks, right? It keeps the echo down, and you put that around your setup and you speak into the box if you don't have the opportunity to be in the
I sound
studio.
great when I talk in here.
Yeah, it does. I love it. So you have two partners, yes?
Yeah, so I have a graphic designer that creates like high-end graphics for me. And like if someone comes and says, look, I'm just starting out, I don't even have a logo. She is fantastic. She'll create the logo, the fonts, like she sits down and does amazing work with that. And then Chelsea is my social media engagement specialist. So she goes in as so a lot of my done for you clients, again, they don't want to do any part of their social media. So she will go in and engage as your page, comment on other people's posts as your page. She just really specializes on making sure that your business is engaged with the right audience and commenting and liking and saving your posts that would make sense for your business.
Good stuff. Where Cassandra is mom, we're a woman-based enterprise, a certified city and state WB out here. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Before I let you go, I have to ask, give me a Super Bowl prediction.
Oh man. Well, I was really big on the Buccaneers, but they've really disappointed this year. I think that despite having all the superstars that they do on their team, they are not gelling. And I
You
don't know.
need
I
to-
think that Scotty Miller was great in the slot, and then they bring Antonio Brown in, and I'm like, well, geez, I don't really think that Miller was doing that bad, but I guess why turn down Antonio Brown? But I just don't think that they're all gelling that well. So they were my early predictions. um, I do like what the Packers are doing. I
Yep.
think that the Aaron and Aaron show, they're doing awesome. I really like the Browns. I think that it's great to see them succeeding, and they have that two-headed monster with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So I like that.
Nick
But
Chubb may be the most underrated running back in the entire NFL. He's
yeah, and
tremendous.
he is, and he doesn't get a ton of touchdowns because, Kareem Hunt always seems to pop in there, but
Yep.
he's always over 100 yards. I just don't see, I call Patrick Mahomes my human cheat code. I swear, he's just on another level, and he's just playing nice until the fourth quarter. And then he's like, all right, well, can I at least just win the game now? And then they
Yeah.
always just march right down and score. So I think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs will be against the mad Aaron Rodgers, who, he's upset that they drafted his position. So, and the Packers. So yeah, Packers and Chiefs is my Super Bowl prediction.
I love it. Well, let's see how that plays out. Good stuff. How do people find you?
So you can find me online, obviously. On Instagram, I'm next.step.social. LinkedIn, Katie Brinkley, and then Facebook, Next Step Social Communications. And if you want, I have a free video training right now on the 3 biggest mistakes that social media or small business make on social media and how to avoid them. And that's available at katiebrinkley.com.
Katie, this was really wonderful, super informative. I'm going to take you up on this for many reasons. I think it's really important for me to understand more from a top-down perspective about connecting and the importance of utilizing the different platforms. And something that stuck with me was the insights. I didn't quite realize how much you can glean from the individual insights as we try to target tenants. Quite often we have these assets and we're trying to target different tenants that would be good fits in different locations. We know the demography, we know that the physical space works, we know the traffic counts work, we know that the right income is there for whatever the use may be, and we're trying to now find that particular tenant. So I'm definitely going to take you up on that. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It was great to have you on. Folks, please keep all the comments, the questions coming. This has been a wonderful journey. We're really enjoying this. And everyone, please stay safe. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.